What's going on YouTube? It is Texans Takeover back in another video. In today's video, we have a Texans Combine 7-round mock draft. This is just based on the NFL Combine. It's currently Saturday, so wide receivers, running backs, and quarterbacks are going. We just wrapped up the running back workouts not too long ago. You can see the settings right here, just generic PFF settings. But we met with a lot of offensive linemen, a lot of defensive linemen. The offensive line names include the likes of um, big names like Caden Proctor, Blake Miller, Connor Liu, Caleb Lomu, Caleb Tiernan, Emmanuel Pregnon, and then there's some smaller ones in there, like a Sam Hecht, Trey Zune, Billy Schrauth. But Texans met with a lot of players throughout this entire week. I do have a spreadsheet with all the players. I do need to update it based on today, but yeah, we did meet with a lot of players. I can show you all that spreadsheet in a future video to give you all a better idea of what we might do in this upcoming draft. Caserio did note that he said he had a pretty good idea of his approach to this draft, and we'll see what happens here because I do believe PFF did update their mock draft rankings, and Freeland goes there at 27. That's someone I would have liked there at 28. TJ Parker's still here, and he's someone who's been dominating the entire draft process to get himself back up to a first round grade. Um, I like the idea of a Blake Miller at 28 potentially. I like the idea of a Caleb Lomu at 28 as well. Um, there's some tackle needy teams there. I don't know if the Rams would go tackle, but I think the Patriots could certainly go tackle. Same with the Cardinals, unless they went with one at 3, which they didn't. Um, The Raiders could certainly go tackle, but I'm gonna address the defensive line here at 28. I really like the idea of Peter Woods. I've done this pick one time before in a first round mock draft, just because Peter Woods isn't typically available at pick number 28. But I think this is a guy with one of the high ceilings in this class. Um, and if he's able to play to his full potential, then you have one of the best interior defensive linemen in the entire league. If he develops the way that we think he can. And I think playing alongside Daniel Hunter and Will Anderson Jr., not a lot of attention is going to be placed on Peter Woods, but I think he's certainly going to be an interior force if we were to select him. So that's what I'm going to do here at 28. We don't know if we met with him or not. And is Blake Miller going to go at 37? Do I take the chance? I am. He didn't. Okay, perfect. We're going two Clemson people with the first two picks, funnily enough. But yeah, Peter Woods, we don't know if we met with him or not. He didn't disclose any teams, but he said he met with, I think, 24 or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comment section below, but I would assume the Texans are one of the, interior defensive line needing teams, would have met with the likes of Peter Woods. So there is that. Um, he's also part of my spreadsheet too, so I'm basing these selections on the players that are in the spreadsheet. Yeah, here at 38, I already told you what my pick is. We're going back to back Clemson Tigers, and this one is going to be Mr. Blake Miller. Um, Gonna play right tackle in the NFL, in my opinion. I think he could definitely project as a guard. To begin, if you want to play Titus at right tackle, then you certainly could play Blake Miller at right guard, left guard, whatever you want him to do. But Texans had a formal meeting with him. I really like him as a player. I've told y'all for a while, I really like the player that Blake Miller is. I think he's going to climb up the draft boards. Um, and he's now ranked 39th in the PFF Big Board after being ranked all the way down in the 50s. Um, but yeah, I really, really, really like Blake Miller, and I think this would be a great pick to solidify the offensive line. Going with back-to-back Clemson Tigers, which might not seem like the best strategy considering that that Clemson hasn't had the best year, but um, I really like both these players, and I think they both have. Well, Blake Miller has a high floor. Peter Woods has an incredible ceiling, so I think it makes sense for the both of them. Here at 59, we're also not doing any trades in this mock draft. I like the idea of a Max Clare. That's someone who we met with. We did meet with Jadarian Price, and he said that it went very well. And I think we were the first team that he listed out. We didn't meet with Emma Johnson, sadly. I wish we would have, but apparently we didn't. So kind of sucks there. Here at 59, we are rumored to Kenneth Walker, and there's been rumors for days now that the Texans are going to be the best fit for Kenneth Walker, one of the teams that goes in for him. But until we have him signed to a deal, I am still going to target running back. Jadarian Price just owned the combine, and I think he's a really really good player. I like him as a complimentary back comparisons to Tony Pollard, and I don't know if I'd compare him to Tony Pollard exactly, but I can see where they're coming from. And I think if you had a Tony Pollard on this offense alongside of Woody Marks, then you do have a very decent running back core. So I think Jadarian Price could be a great option for this Texans team, and he had a lot to say on the Texans, and how well that meeting went. So I'm just going to pull the trigger here at pick number 59, and hope that Max Clare. Nope, he's not available to us. Um, they're at 65. Here at 69, though, again, we don't know what free agency is going to entail. We've been rumored to Cade Mays a lot this offseason. I made a video even on Cade Mays, over 2 months ago, maybe. Um, when the rumor first dropped, and then we had the rumors come back again throughout this week. So it seems like the Texans are going to be very interested in the likes of a Cade Mays in free agency. I think Cade Mays and Kenneth Walker are very well on their way to be Texans, hopefully. And I would really like the signing of them both. Obviously, Kenneth Walker just won Super Bowl MVP. Um, and Cade Mays has been a solid offensive lineman for many, many years. So we don't know about that until, the pen hits the paper. So here at 69, I am going to go with my favorite, or one of my favorite centers in this class, in Connor Liu. I prefer him to Sam Hecht just slightly. I know some people prefer the other way around. I think Sam Hecht had a great year for um, Kansas State, but I really like Connor Liu as a player. Didn't play the entire season, but I really like how he'd fit in this Texans offense, and I think that's certainly an improvement on the likes of a Jake Andrews, who Caserio said they like him as a player, but we're not afraid to upgrade on him. So that's going to be my pick there at number 69. Obviously, we might adjust that position in free agency and it might change, but for now, that's what I'm going to do. And then we're going to hope that, one tight end doesn't go, and he didn't, which is great. And you can see him at the top there at number 108. Billy Strouth went here at 104. This is a player that I actually really, really like, and I would be happy if the Texans did select him. I think he might play himself into a day two pick. So, potentially the Texans move down from 69, pick up like 87 and 90 from the Dolphins, and then give up like 165, and pick up a Billy Strouth, and then try to get, one of the better centers available if like a Jake Slaughter's left there or something like that. But here at 106, we do need to improve our tight end game. We did meet with Marlon Klein, who I actually really, really like. But I like the idea of a Sam Roosh in this Texans offense. Needs to fix on the drop issues. If I pull it up, I think he has like a 6.8 drop percentage. 12.5. Okay, that's insanely high. 11.1 for the likes of a Marlon Klein. Justin Jolly 2.0. That's probably the best drop rate in the entire draft process. Josh Quava, who has 6.8. I remember seeing 6.8 somewhere. Um, Maybe it's somewhere higher, like a Kenyon Sadiq or something like that. I have no idea, but 12.2% is certainly high for a drop rate. That's 10.5. Okay, maybe I'm just making a number up. I don't. I could have sworn I saw 6.8 somewhere. Joe Royer did not drop a pass the entire season. That's incredible. 8.6 is maybe what I was thinking of instead of 6.8. That's probably it. But here at 106, I am just going to pull the trigger on Sam Roosh. I really like him as a blocking tight end, and I like the athleticism he possesses. I really like the idea of Genesis Smith to the Texans, actually. Um, and you can see he went a couple picks before us to the Raiders. Ran incredible, was incredible last season for Arizona, and I think could be one of the most impactful players in this draft class down the board. Someone that plays a big role for whatever team he does go to, because I really like his athleticism, and I think he will be a very good player. Um, I think Sam Roosh will be a very good player in the NFL, though. Don't get me wrong there. Here at 128, though, we met with Katron Allen. We haven't gone with a running back yet. Or actually, yes, we did. We went with Jadarian Price. I'm sorry. We met with some interior defensive linemen in there. Um, I believe we met with Zane Durant. We did he go? Oh, he went the pick before us. I was going to draft Chris McClellan if he was there, but I guess he's been going up draft boards a little bit. So that's a little annoying. I would like Chris McClellan here. We did draft Peter Woods already. So maybe you want to look back to the offensive line. If you look at the interior, I believe we met with Armaj Reed Adams. I could be wrong. We did certainly meet with Parkville Brailsford. Um, Armaj Reed Adams, you can correct me, but I did remember seeing a report on him. Maybe it was just a Texans player or a Texans reporter, excuse me, going to meet with him. Um, but I have no clue, to be honest. On the offensive tackle position, maybe there's one there that we did certainly meet with. And if Markel Bell went, I think that's someone we did meet with. Um, So maybe there's oh, we met with Trey Zune. Okay, there's one more offensive lineman on the board there that we do have potential to draft. Not saying that, whoever's whoever we met with means we're drafting them. That's not the case. Um, Usually ever actually. Teams typically switch between players that they met with and then that they didn't meet with, but just for the case of this video, I am just going to select players that we did meet with. And here at 128, I don't really see anyone that we met with towards the top besides Katron Allen. So we're going to reach down the board a little bit and go with someone that I thought had a really, really good combine, actually. Well, Mike Washington Jr. did have one of those, but we already went with a running back. Max Llewellyn's going to be my pick here. And this is going to be graded really poorly by PFF, but I really like him as a player, actually. And I thought he had a really good combine. I think teams are going to be very intrigued by his size, his height, weight, his arm length. I think he measured really well. And if you play for an Iowa defense, then typically you have very good fundamentals. And I think that's something the Texans will certainly value. So that's going to be my pick there all the way up the board at 128. And then here at 165, I think this is a fine place to take. Maybe it's Demetrius Cronover that we took a look. I don't know. It was Armaj Reed Adams or Cronover that I saw a report on. But here at 165, I am going to take Trey Zune. This is going to be a guard in the NFL. Point blank simple. He's going to be a guard. I know he's listed at a tackle. He's 6'6", 319. He doesn't have the longest arms, but he is a very good pass blocker. Him and Chase Basantis share very similar qualities. I would prefer Basantis to Trey Zune just because of his dominance in the run game a little bit more. But Trey Zune's certainly definitely a really good player. And I think if you have the idea of implementing Trey Zune, so, when the Texans run their 6 offensive line sets, you can put Trey Zune at that guard position, and then you can move Titus to the outermost tackle because of his versatility and his athleticism. And I think that would be one of your best offensive line units. So that's going to be my pick there at 165. I really like the idea of a Trey Zune. So that's what I'm going to do, and then we'll go turbo to get all the way to 243 and 244, where Zane Durant goes the pick right before. So it just seems like they don't want us to have a combine video because everyone that I really liked threw at the combine is getting taken right before us. BJ Payne goes all the way up there. Robert Spears Jennings had a really good combine as well. That's someone I really liked. Same with Charles Demings. Um, there goes Parkles Burlesford at 204, I believe is that number I just saw. Here at 243, though, I am going to pull the trigger on a defensive lineman, and it's going to be Brandon Cleveland. This is one of the first guys that we met with just because the defensive line was the first position group there. I really like him as a player. Just in terms of his frame, and I think he's a really good run stuffer. We have 5 pending free agents on the defensive line, I believe, at the D tackle position, so it's certainly something we're going to address, whether in free agency, whether throughout the draft. But I think even if sign 1 or 2 in free agency, you're still looking to draft 1 or 2. So that's what we do here with Peter Woods and Brandon Cleveland, a guy that I really like. And then at 244, you could do a lot of different things. And let's see who had a decent. Is Mason Rieger down here? Mason Rieger had an incredible combine. And that might just be the pick. Unless there's someone that I recognize that we met with. Let's look to the offensive line. I mean, these guys aren't even here at the combine, which is probably the reason why we haven't met with them. Why is Waylon I don't even know how to pronounce his name. But why is his maybe just someone drafted him at like 1 just to change their average draft position. Maybe Luke Altmaier is the pick here though. Maybe you want to get a burner and get scroll right. You have flexibility here. You could obviously just trade this pick and get a 7th. Okay, or not. So you want the pick, but you're not willing to. Huh. Interesting. If you want the pick, then just give me your 7th next year. That makes no sense. But we'll go with Luke Altmaier here to finish out this draft. Thought he looked decent. I don't think they've thrown yet, as I'm recording this video, but you can see they're graded pretty poorly here with Llewellyn and Zune. But for being a combine draft, this was quite good. So let me know y'all's thoughts about the combine down in the comment section below. We know Sonny Styles was incredible. We know Eli Stowers jumped higher than anyone ever. We know Kenyon Sadiq was incredible, and then a lot of the safeties ran really well. Um, Obviously, Sonny Styles' brother Lorenzo was the highlight of that group. The running backs were incredible too. Um, but yeah, let me know what y'all think down in the comment section below. And as always, it's Texans Takeover, and I'm out. Peace.